On May 22, 2011 in Joplin, Missouri, a catastrophic EF5 tornado tore through the city, one of the most powerful tornadoes ever recorded in U.S. history. With wind speeds reaching nearly 200 miles per hour, it pushed the very limits of what nature is capable of. Homes were ripped from their foundations. Cars were hurled into the air like toys. Everything caught in the storm spun wildly, like scraps of paper in a violent wind. Within minutes, the city was reduced to ruins. Entire neighborhoods were flattened, and the streets looked as if someone had wiped them clean from a map. But in the ruins of that devastation, a story began to take shape. One even stranger than the storm itself. In the days that followed, inside the disaster relief centers, counselors and volunteers began to notice something unusual. Survivors, especially children, kept telling the same incredible story. They claimed that during the height of the storm, they were saved by glowing, winged beings, creatures they called the butterfly people. According to the children, these beings wrapped their luminous wings around them and carried them safely away from the roaring winds. What made the story so remarkable was that these kids came from different parts of the city. Some were at school, others in grocery stores, others at home. Yet they all described the butterfly people the same way. They had human-like forms, soft, comforting voices, and wings that shimmered like translucent light. At first, most adults dismissed it as a trauma-induced fantasy, a way for frightened children to cope with what they had seen. But as more and more accounts emerged, the legend began to spread across Joplin, quietly like a whispered prayer. And soon, amid the wreckage and the grief, the story of the butterfly people became something more than just a rumor. It became a symbol of hope, a gentle, luminous faith that grew out of the ruins. One of them, a 12-year-old boy named Tyler Wilson, later told people what he saw through the small basement window of his home on the afternoon of May 22nd. By that time, the tornado sirens had been wailing for 20 minutes. Tyler, his parents, and his little sister were hiding inside the storage room of their basement. There were no real windows down there, only a narrow vent window near the top of the wall, just high enough for Tyler to stand on his toes and peek outside. At around 4:45 p.m., the sound of the wind suddenly became sharp and piercing. Things outside started clattering as they were blown around. Curiosity got the better of Tyler, and he stood on his tiptoes, pressing close to the vent window, trying to see what was happening outside. The world beyond the glass was pitch black. Through the howling wind, he could see wood planks and tree branches swirling wildly in the air, like the sky itself had gone mad. The apocalyptic scene terrified the 12-year-old. Just as he was about to step back in fear, he saw it, a glowing, winged figure hovering near the power pole across from his house, no more than a few dozen meters away. Tyler's eyes widened. He tried to focus, desperate to make out the shape clearly. The figure was much taller than an adult, with a glowing white torso wrapped in something that looked like thin, translucent fabric. He couldn't see distinct arms or legs, but what caught his attention most were the wings. When they spread open, they looked like a giant, shimmering, multicolored sail, about 2 or 3 meters wide. It reminded him of a butterfly person. Tyler was stunned. The storm outside was raging, debris was flying at terrifying speeds. Yet the creature didn't move. Its wings didn't even flutter. It hovered perfectly still in the air, as if something invisible was holding it in place. He wanted to call his parents over to make sure he wasn't seeing things. But just as they rushed to the window, the butterfly man moved. Its motion wasn't like a bird's flight. It drifted, slowly and effortlessly, more like a balloon. Then it floated toward the direction of the tornado and disappeared into the darkness. The moment it vanished beside their house, the roof tore off. Boards and shingles slammed into the basement ceiling with a heavy thud. Tyler and his family crouched in the corner, covering their heads, trembling. By 5:10 p.m., the wind finally began to calm down. The family carefully climbed out of the basement. Their home was now half destroyed, the structure unsafe. The neighbors' houses were completely leveled, yet strangely, the small vent window in their basement remained untouched. Not a single piece of debris had hit it. It was as if something invisible had shielded that window. Later, Tyler learned something that gave him chills. Around the same time he saw the Butterfly Man, another child, a 10-year-old girl named Lena, who lived just a block away, claimed she also saw a colorful, winged figure from her basement during the tornado. Lena said the butterfly man was perched on the old oak tree in her yard, gazing gently toward her through the basement window. For a 10-year-old, the sight of an unknown creature should have been terrifying. But instead, Lena said the butterfly man's gaze made her feel calm, even safe. And in this disaster, it wasn't just children who saw the butterfly man. Linda Hansen, a 47-year-old woman and another survivor of the tornado, claimed that she was saved by the butterfly man as well. Linda lived on the outskirts of Joplin. When the tornado struck, she was watering flowers in her garden. Because of her bad leg, she couldn't move quickly. By the time the warning sirens went off, it was already too late for her to reach the basement. Her only option was to lie flat behind the bushes in her garden and hope for the best. The storm was unbelievably strong. Linda felt as if she was about to be lifted off the ground. She clung tightly to the roots of the bushes, terrified. Pieces of debris started flying through the air. Wooden planks, shards of glass, even a neighbor's bicycle. Linda squeezed her eyes shut, convinced she was about to die. But then, at the moment she had completely given up hope, she felt something standing between her and the storm. Slowly, she opened her eyes just a crack and saw a white figure hovering above her. The figure had radiant multicolored wings, spread wide like a giant umbrella, completely shielding her beneath it. Just then, a fist-sized rock came hurtling through the air straight toward her head. But the moment it hit the creature's wing, it bounced off and landed harmlessly on the grass nearby. According to Linda's recollection, the butterfly man's wings looked thin and translucent, almost like plastic, yet they were remarkably strong and seemed to possess great power. She also remembered a faint scent in the air, a mix of wildflowers and decaying leaves. Linda never had the chance to touch the butterfly man. It simply hovered above her, blocking flying debris and buffering the wind, until the storm finally began to weaken. Only then did the butterfly man slowly drift away. When Linda finally stood up, her garden was in ruins. The bushes had been stripped bare, branches snapped and scattered, yet the small patch of ground where she had lain was completely untouched, not even a leaf out of place. Later, Linda searched the garden, hoping to find some trace of the butterfly man. After combing the area for a long time, she discovered a tiny white, silk-like fragment buried in the soil. It felt smooth, almost like silk or gauze. She carefully placed it inside a small box, but when she opened the box the next day, the fragment had vanished without a trace. There was also an elderly man named Thomas, who was trapped in his basement during the tornado. Unfortunately, the entrance had been blocked by a fallen beam, and no one could hear his cries for help. Just when Thomas was about to lose hope, a beam of white light shone through the basement vent and illuminated the space around him. He looked up toward the vent and saw a butterfly man floating in the air outside. It was the first time Thomas had ever seen such a being, but instead of fear, he felt a strange warmth and kindness radiating from it. The butterfly man didn't speak. It simply drifted slightly away from the vent, then back toward it, staring directly at Thomas. Somehow, Thomas understood what it meant. He rushed toward the direction the butterfly man had indicated. And there, near the back fence, he found a small gap just big enough for him to crawl through. He pushed the boards aside and escaped. When he finally made it out and looked up at the sky, the butterfly man was gone. The sky was gray and empty. Later, while inspecting his damaged house, Thomas discovered that a broken gas pipe ran right above the spot where he'd been trapped. If he had stayed a few minutes longer, the leaking gas could have caused an explosion, with unimaginable consequences. Even stranger, the gap in the fence he crawled through had originally been blocked by a brick, but when he escaped, the brick had vanished, as if someone had moved it just for him. After the sightings of the butterfly men began to surface one after another, Benjamin Black Bear, an elder of the Osage Nation, traveled from his reservation to Joplin. After listening to the witnesses' descriptions, he spoke firmly to the crowd. "What you saw wasn't an illusion. That was Nakiwak, the guide of souls in times of disaster." Benjamin explained that, in Osage legend, Nakiwak appears during the most dangerous moments, to protect those whose time has not yet come, and to guide the souls of those who have already left their bodies to where they belong. Disasters like tornadoes, he said, are so destructive that they tear open the boundary between the human world and the spirit realm, allowing Nakiwak to manifest more easily. Benjamin also told the townspeople that Nakiwak's colorful wings aren't used for flying. They're more like spiritual tools used to shield against danger. The flying debris it blocked, the survivors it guided. All of that was part of Nakiwak's duty. During these moments, Nakiwak never speaks, because it doesn't need words. Its wings and its gaze are its language. What's even more thought-provoking, Benjamin said, is that the Osage ancestors left behind an old saying: when the colorful wings appear in the storm, the spirit world is watching over the living. That sentence was carved into an ancient Osage stone tablet, dating back to the early 19th century, long before the city of Joplin even existed. Of course, not everyone believes in such mystical legends. Psychologist Dr. Michael Levin stated in an interview that under extreme stress, the human brain can create protective hallucinations. Children in particular are more likely to reshape terrifying realities into gentle and comforting imagery. He suggested that the butterfly men of Joplin were a psychological projection of collective trauma, a way for the mind to heal itself after devastation. However, another group of researchers discovered a detail that had been largely overlooked. While reviewing satellite images of the Joplin tornado, they found several frames showing a strange ring of light within the storm's core, a pattern that looked remarkably like butterfly wings, with a perfectly symmetrical energy distribution. NASA later explained it as a lightning reflection artifact, but the researchers argued that the probability of such a formation appearing naturally was extremely low. Unfortunately, their findings never made it into mainstream media, yet they spread rapidly across the internet. And so, the Butterfly Man legend evolved from folklore whispered among survivors to a mysterious, unexplained phenomenon that science couldn't fully dismiss. Many people chose to believe. To them, the butterfly men were not imaginary. That night's miracle, they said, was a form of grace, a real, tangible protection that defied logic. For others, the butterfly men symbolized human resilience, the inner light that emerges when fear reaches its peak, helping people survive the darkest hours. Whether one believes or not, the butterfly man phenomenon left a permanent mark on Joplin. The city rebuilt itself from the rubble. Streets once filled with debris are now lined with flowers and butterflies, symbols of rebirth. And on the city's memorial stone, one inscription reads, "There are lights that fly through the darkness. They carry away fear and bring hope."